The crown, the throne, the weight of history. For centuries, royalty has represented power, lineage, and the unbroken chain of succession. We imagine their stories are complete, written in stone and sealed in royal archives. But history is not a neat ledger. It is a tapestry woven with threads of truth, legend, and profound, unsettling silence. Behind the glittering facade of palaces and the rigid protocols of court life lie shadows. Shadows that hide some of the world's most enduring mysteries. These are the stories of vanished heirs, of dynasties erased overnight, of claimants who appeared from the fog of time, challenging everything we think we know. This is a journey into the heart of royal obscurity, where the pages of history are not just turned, but are tantalizingly, tragically blank. In the heart of London, within the formidable walls of the Tower of London, a place that is both palace and prison, a mystery was born that would haunt England for over 5 centuries. The year is 1483. King Edward IV, the brilliant and towering Plantagenet monarch, is dead. His sudden passing leaves a child, 12-year-old Edward V, as king. But power is a vacuum, and into it steps the boy's uncle, Richard, Duke of Gloucester. What happens next is a masterclass in political ruthlessness. Richard declares his brother's marriage invalid and his nephew's illegitimate. The young Edward V and his younger brother, Richard of Shrewsbury, are taken to the Tower, ostensibly for their protection, and to prepare for a coronation that would never come. They were seen, less and less, playing in the garden, then glimpsed at a window, and then nothing. They vanished from sight and from history. The world moved on. Richard III took the crown, and the question began to whisper through the halls of power and the taverns of London. What became of the princes in the Tower? The most damning theory, immortalized by Shakespeare, is that Richard ordered their murder, securing his throne with the blood of children. But there is no confession, no body, no smoking gun. Other suspects emerged. Perhaps it was Henry Stafford, the Duke of Buckingham, acting on his own ambition. Or maybe the most shocking twist of all, what if they survived? Years later, a curious figure emerged. Perkin Warbeck, a young man who claimed to be Richard, the younger of the 2 princes. He gained support from foreign courts, even launching an invasion of England. Was he a cunning impostor or a royal heir living a real-life fairy tale in reverse? The truth died with him on the gallows. To this day, the fate of the princes remains the great, grim ghost story of the English monarchy, a chilling reminder that the path to the throne was often paved with the silence of the innocent. If the mystery of the princes in the Tower is one of medieval shadows, the fate of Russia's Romanovs is a modern tragedy, etched in the cold light of the 20th century. For 300 years, the House of Romanov ruled an empire. Tsar Nicholas II, his wife Alexandra, and their 5 children were the living symbols of that power. But in 1917, revolution swept Russia. The Tsar was forced to abdicate, and the entire family was placed under house arrest. For months, they lived in limbo as the Bolsheviks tightened their grip. Then, on the night of July 17, 1918, in a basement room in Yekaterinburg, the Romanov dynasty was brutally executed. The official story was clear: no survivors. But almost immediately, the seeds of doubt were sown. The Bolsheviks were secretive about the disposal of the bodies. Rumors began to circulate. Had one of them, perhaps the youngest daughter, Anastasia, or the sole heir, Alexei, somehow escaped the slaughter? The mystery became an obsession. For decades, women emerged claiming to be the Grand Duchess Anastasia. The most famous, Anna Anderson, spent a lifetime battling in courts, convincing some relatives and bewildering experts. Her face was scrutinized, her stories dissected. She was a global sensation, a living embodiment of the what-if that clung to the Romanovs. The world wanted a survivor, a princess saved from the darkness. The official story was clear: no survivors. But almost immediately, the seeds of doubt were sown. The Bolsheviks were secretive about the disposal of the bodies. Rumors began to circulate. Had one of them, perhaps the youngest daughter, Anastasia, or the sole heir, Alexei, somehow escaped the slaughter? The mystery became an obsession. For decades, women emerged claiming to be the Grand Duchess Anastasia. The most famous, Anna Anderson, spent a lifetime battling in courts, convincing some relatives and bewildering experts. Her face was scrutinized, her stories dissected. She was a global sensation, a living embodiment of the what-if that clung to the Romanovs. The world wanted a survivor, a princess saved from the darkness. The truth, when it finally began to emerge, was both conclusive and yet still incomplete. In the 1990s, the Romanovs' grave was discovered, but two bodies were missing: Alexei and one of the sisters. For years, the mystery of the missing children persisted, fueling the Anastasia legend. It wasn't until 2007 that a second grave was found, and DNA testing confirmed the remains of the entire family. Anna Anderson was revealed to be an imposter. The case was scientifically closed. And yet, the mystery endures, not as a question of survival, but as a spectral echo. The story of the lost Romanov captured a global imagination because it spoke to a deep human desire for a second chance, for a thread of hope in an unspeakable tragedy. The dynasty was buried, but the legends they left behind proved far harder to kill. From the frost of Russia to the heat of India, we find a mystery, not of death, but of disappearance. The Mughal Empire was one of the richest, most powerful dynasties the world has ever known. Its rulers built the Taj Mahal and ruled a subcontinent. But by the mid-19th century, its power was a ghost. The British East India Company was the true power, and the last Mughal emperor, Bahadur Shah Zafar, was a poet-king presiding over a crumbling court. In 1857, a massive rebellion, the Indian Rebellion or the Sepoy Mutiny, erupted against British rule. The rebels flocked to Delhi and declared the aged Zafar their symbolic leader. The British response was swift and brutal. They recaptured Delhi, and their revenge was absolute. Zafar's sons and grandsons were hunted down. Most were captured and executed by Major William Hodson in a cold-blooded act meant to extinguish the Mughal line. But legend whispers that one prince, the youngest son or a grandson, escaped the massacre. Some stories say he was smuggled out by loyalists, others that he vanished into the chaotic streets of Delhi. His name, his face, his exact identity are lost. He became the lost Mughal prince, a hidden heir to the peacock throne, living out his life in anonymity while the British systematically dismantled his ancestors' empire. This mystery is less about evidence and more about legacy. There are no DNA tests to run, no graves to exhume. It exists in the realm of folklore, a story told in parts of India and Pakistan, of a prince who lived as a beggar or a holy man, his royal blood, a secret known only to him. He represents the path not taken, the alternate history where the Mughal line did not end in a British jail in Rangoon. He is a ghost of a lost world, a poignant symbol of a glorious dynasty whose final heir simply faded away into the crowd, his story forever untold. What is it about these vanished royals that captivates us so? It is more than just a historical puzzle. The disappearance of an heir creates a rupture in the natural order. A throne without a claimant is a question mark at the center of a nation's identity. These stories force us to confront the fragility of power and the relentless passage of time. A king can command armies, but he cannot command his own story to be neatly concluded. These mysteries are voids, and into that emptiness we pour our own imaginations. We imagine the terrified princes in the tower, the brave Romanov girl surviving against all odds, the Mughal prince walking away from his birthright. They become blank canvases for our hopes, our fears, and our sense of justice. We want the innocent to be saved, the tyrants to be foiled, the legacy to endure. The truth, in many of these cases, is likely grim, but the enduring power of the mystery is a truth in itself. It reminds us that history is not just about the facts we can prove, but about the stories we cannot forget. The disappeared royals, the hidden heirs, the buried dynasties, they are the ghosts in the machine of history, their silent stories echoing through the centuries, forever asking the one question we can never truly answer: what really happened? And so, the shadows in the portrait galleries remain, the empty chairs at the banquet table still wait, and the mysteries endure, as timeless as the crowns themselves. Liked what you watch? Don't miss the next one. Subscribe for a friendly nudge when new posts are out. It's free and always will be.